Greetings, citizens of the galaxy. You know what day this is. This is Mandalorian Day. Mando Fridays. Alright, so you know what's also awesome about this day? It's my birthday. So Disney gave me, not everybody else, just me, the Mandalorian episode for everybody else. Also not true. But anyway, I gotta watch an episode of The Mandalorian, so I'm about to check this out, and I'll be right back to give you the review and my thoughts on the episode. Boom. Greetings, citizens of the galaxy. Welcome to Swtor Gaming.
Welcome. I believe the Force has guided you to me.
Who we truly are is defined by our actions.
Alright, now I'm back. I'm already done. I've watched the whole entire episode, and it was just another journey of the week. The Mandalorian is on his speeder on his way to leave Tatooine, and all of a sudden, of course, he'll let you still know that they're after the child, which everyone calls Baby Yoda. Bounty hunters show up on Tatooine, which, I mean, considering that, you know, you had Jabba's cartel there before now, I think it would be the Nikto cartel on the rise, and that the child has a huge, and the Mandalorian have a huge bounty on their heads. It only makes sense. So they lay a trap for him, they trip up his speeder, and they try to take him on to Novale. Then he goes back to where Amy Sedaris' character, I forgot what her name is, and she meets her at the Cantina, thinking, you know, hey, look, I need to find where the Mandalorians are. Apparently, this frog lady, I don't know what the alien species is, but she's pretty much going to guarantee that she could help the Mando find other Mandalorians. So he just has to give her passage. She's trying to find a certain world where her eggs will be able to hatch, and I guess she's kind of the last of her species, last of her line. That's why it's very rare. So, but they have to travel sublight, which means not using the hyperdrive. Well, a Mandalorian and the child are very wanted, so he's kind of against this and eventually decides to take her. Long story short, we meet characters that we've seen before in Season 1. Especially Dave Filoni makes an appearance in this episode as, I believe it was, what was it, Trapper Wolf? So we see him, you know, and I believe it's another director that was, I don't know if it was, I don't think the other guy was speaking to him, but they're trying to check his transponder codes to make sure he's not an imp, because they're trying to sweep out the rest of the Imperials of the galaxy. So rather than show where he's going, he goes on a run for it. He goes in this icy planet. He tries to hide out in a cave. Similar, and this is kind of the little Easter eggs. It's very similar to in Empire Strikes Back, where they're going to hide in what they thought was a cave. End up not being a cave. Had that similar kind of feeling. And then the ground breaks underneath them, and the ship takes a lot of damage. Remembering by this time the Razor Crest is an antique ship. These ships are very much newer, and they've had more upkeep than the Razor Crest had. So you go in the cave. He's like, all right, let's just take a rest because it's going to get really cold when night comes. He falls asleep. Oh, and then before all that happens, so they're transporting this alien frog lady and her eggs. And then the child is slowly but surely just eating the eggs, like, you know, doing mischievous things a child would do. No, not any malice or anything towards it. It's just like, oh, snacks. And he's like, stop eating them, man. They're fucking, those are her eggs. Those are her children. You keep eating them. Like on several occasions, he goes back, like, how many have you eaten so far? It's funny. And her, I guess, while Mandalorian's sleeping with the child, while he's while he's sleeping, the frog lady sees the assassin droid from the season 1 the Prisoner story arc, where they visit a Republic prison to break somebody out. You know, the one you guys will remember is the episode with Bill Burr. So Long story short, she activates a vocabulary and translate because Mando didn't understand her language and calls him out on his BS. Say, you promised me to take me to this planet. I thought Mandalorians were men of their word, and calling him out on his code. So he starts fixing the ship, and while he's doing that, the child appears and was like, why don't you, Mando goes, why don't you give me, because he's waving his hand, he's like, why don't you give me a hand over here, you know? And then he leaves, like, what are you doing? And he shows that she's left, being that he's responsible for her, according to the agreement to bring her safely. He scans her tracks her to a cave, and he's like, hey, look, we need to get out of here. Of course, there's a whole bunch of eggs in there. Sure enough, there are those alien spiders, which was also something interesting, too. If you remember the Ralph McQuarrie concept art for Dagobah, it had one gigantic spider in there, and those are the exact spiders they shown. Now, there are different concept arts. Some of the people who play Swtor remember them from these spiders from the Eternal Swamp. Like, if you see at the end, they show the concept art panels for every single episode, which I love. One of them looks exactly like those. I forgot what it's called. But these ones are very different. They're pale. They look exactly like the Ralph McQuarrie concept art. So, which is nice. I saw that and immediately knew exactly what they were and why they're here. So, Mandalorian's talking to the Frog Lady and telling her, hey, you need to get out of here. Because she's just taking a bath in this, I guess, warm underground bath with her eggs. Yoda, a little baby Yoda, or the child, is just eating, cracking open eggs and just eating what's inside, which is little spiders. And sure enough, as soon as I saw him eat that, and I looked at the eggs, I'm like, they're going to hatch, aren't they? Sure enough, one by one start hatching and others start coming out. And then the giant, the mama, the queen alien spider being comes out. And it's incredible. It's like little by little, they just start just running and just making a mad dash back to the ship. Frog Lady starts jumping. Mando starts shooting everything in sight, burning, and trying to set charges. And eventually they make it back to the ship, but they're trying to run, and they're being overrun basically by these little spider creatures. No matter how much he burns, shoots, etc. At one point we think he took out the really, really big one, and now it's the rest of them. And sure enough, it comes back until, I guess, following the heat signature, the two Republic ships came out and they start blasting the giant one and kill every little thing that's all the other spiders that were on the ship. And you see Dave. That's where you see Dave Filoni as Trapper Wolf and the other guy. And he says, the man, they just tell him, hey, you were doing this, you were doing that. You technically should be under, we should take you in. And Mandalorian goes, well, am I under arrest? It's interesting. It's like being stopped by the cops, right? Like, well, look, you also saved this person, you also saved this other person, New Republic officer this, and it's like, so, Amanda goes, well, since I saved all those people, how don't we call it fair you guys helped me fix my hyperdrive? And the guy goes, look at this guy. Who does he think he is in his little antique ship? He's like, why don't you fix the transponder codes on the antique so next time we don't blow that piece of crap sky high? And they just take off on their X-Wings. And it's like, it's interesting because you never, watching the original trilogy, you never looked at the X-Wings because they constantly made reference to it as like hunks of junk or just they always made their ships out of scavenged parts, right? But now thinking about it and saying it out loud, the Razor Crest is kind of like this kind of era's not Mandalorian, this era's Millennium Falcon, as it's constantly referred to antique, like a piece of junk, and it is a really old ship. I believe it might be older than the Millennium Falcon. It's very possible because I believe that type of ship is similar to the one you see in Swtor in the Old Republic. So it must have been of that time of Jango Fett in the Old Republic, like towards the end, like a newer model of that. Anyway, it was a really good episode, but we got really nothing. It was just another episode of the week. entertaining, but we have nothing of the main story. Like, people thought, all right, we got Boba Fett. It started off really strong, so then the next episode is going to continue. No, not at all. So that's pretty much what we got. I enjoyed it, and as much as I enjoy watching every single episode, I think just going back and seeing like the whole thing as a season, it makes it a lot more interesting. See how it flows all together. That's where, as good as these episodes are, almost like these small movies, as it flows to the whole thing, that's what makes it a lot more interesting. Now, this is another thing too. This episode was like half an hour, so it does feel short. And some people who like that first season finale, which is almost like an hour, I think, will pretty much be probably disappointed at the length. But hey, it just is what it is. All right, guys. Well, you know what? I woke up early to do this review, and since it's my birthday, and I started celebrating really early, I'm about to publish this and go back to sleep. Guys, tell me what you think in the comments below, and may the force of your will further your destiny. Always.